wanted to start out just by asking you some basic questions about Boyhood, some facts and stuff.
Yeah.
I wondered just about the shooting over the 12 years. You guys reunited every year
Yeah.
to create these sort of short films to create the overall picture. And I wondered how much shooting time you devoted to each year. Was there a difference in between some being longer than others?
Yeah, I mean, roughly we shot like 3 to 4 days a year, sometimes 3.5. We'd have a couple pickup shots to get the next morning or something. And we shot 12 times over 12 years, but we didn't shoot the same time every year. It would be anywhere between 8 and 16 months usually.
Okay.
Everybody's scheduled. It was kind of a logistic nightmare, as you can imagine.
Mm.
But, we made these, they're sort of like 12 films, but ideally it wouldn't be obvious where one ended and the next began.
Right.
I wanted them to kind of seamlessly flow together, so that was the idea.
Right.
But we did have to have these big breaks in shooting. So.
Yeah. So speaking of the idea, could you kind of describe just the moment when it came to you that something like this was possible?
Well, I didn't know it was possible. I mean, I was trying to solve, I think a lot of, I don't know if you think of like the ideas in life that you may have, a lot of it you're solving a specific problem, like, in my case I was solving the problem of how to tell a story. I wanted to express something about growing up, but I didn't have one moment. I was searching for a bigger canvas to express how things change, how you see life a little differently at 7 than you do 13 and 17, and there's this emergence of self somewhere in there, or this wider view of the world emerges, and how family plays off that and all that. So most movies with kids are pretty specific, that you got to pick your spot because you got this limitation with the age of your actor. So I was trying to get outside those boundaries, and I'd kind of given up when this idea hit me. That, if I filmed a little bit every year, I could express all this. I could see it. It could, So at that moment, I had the whole canvas, the whole tone, everything sort of presented itself to me. Like I was watching the movie, and it was one movie, nothing changed, but the characters all just aged. So that was kind of the vibe, the tone I was going for, I think.
Right. Great. So could you also describe for me the last day of shooting?
Well, it's amazing on this. The first day of shooting in '02, like any other day I've ever shot, like any other first day.
Yeah.
You're just getting your feet and you're working through the day's work. Cut to 4,237 days later or something. It's the last day of shooting. So you can imagine after 12 years the commitment and the investment that not only the cast but the crew, the people had worked on it all the years. And it wasn't, not everyone had worked all 12 years. We had a lot of people come and go, but the core group, and you could just feel it in the throughout the cast and crew.
Yeah.
So the last day, and particularly the last shot, the last shot in the movie is the last thing we filmed.
It is.
And so, that notion of the martini shot, the last shot of the day, it's a big deal even if you shoot one day. The martini, okay, it's the last thing. Right. So a whole shoot, say you shoot 30 days, the martini after a whole shoot is, but we were that times 12. Mm-hmm. So by the time we have the martini at the end of this, it was like everyone was just sort of buzzing and floating on some other plane, when it was over. And it was, we had our limitations there. It was like we were kind of getting magic hour. We had limited light. We had to get I was doing kind of a move in, on the actors. But once we got it and we had lost the light and we were done, it was still just kind of magical outside. And I remember just Eller got up and we just kind of looked at each other like, what have we just done? Like, where did 12 years go? Like, he was this little kid, now he's this young man. I'm staring at eye level where it was just, we just hugged for a long time. It was intense.
Yeah, I bet that is intense.
Yeah.
So the magic hour reminds me of Last Picture Show, and Bogdanovich, I saw in an interview once, talked about there's a scene where the sun comes out just randomly, and he kept it. Did you have any moments like that outside?
Yeah, nature works with you quite often in a beautiful way. I think in Last Picture Show, when Ben Johnson is sitting there telling a story,
Right.
and the sun just breaks through the clouds, he's lit. You know, you get these kind of moments that it's just kind of perfect. So yeah, if you're doing the right thing and you're on the right wavelength, a lot of that stuff happens. You know, you just get lucky, and it's not just nature of the sun and the clouds and the bird that flies through the shot. You know, all these beautiful things can happen, but it's also just the world in general. This film is, it's not a lot of vistas and stuff. It's more like real world. But like, for instance, we're at the Astros game, and I got one inning to shoot. I need them to do something offensively, which is kind of a challenge sometimes in those years, especially. Okay, I got the camera pointed kind of toward the left field fence.
Right.
And I'm just hoping a guy will maybe hit a grounder to third or short for my camera. It would look good. Just, I need something to happen. I'm set up the shot. We're going to, whatever happens, we're going to pan back over to our three people. And damn it if Jason Lane doesn't hit a home run right down the middle of the lens, and you can see the ball the whole way. It doesn't even exit the shot.
Yeah.
It's just like, I could have stayed there all season
I know.
and might not gotten that shot. I could get the best hitter in baseball and try to throw, you know, batting practice to him, and he still might not do it right.
Mm-hmm.
But so these magical things were happening always in the film like that. In every film, you feel like they're either with you or against you. And this one, they were definitely with us. You know, like everything was just sort of magically working in our favor.
Yeah.
So it felt meant to be. Sometimes it's good to feel that way. Like you're integrated, your story's the right thing to be doing, and the film gods are with you.
Right. Cool. Yeah, that ball was crushed.
Yeah.
Could not believe it.
I know.
So, how hard was it to stop? Were you tempted to just keep going? I mean, we could still be doing this. And
Yeah, we could do this forever. Truly, it'd be kind of fun. But no, it was always the story was first through 12th grade. Ann's going off to college. That was this story.
Right.
So we always had that limitation. It has to end. But for all of us who worked on it, we still haven't quite processed the end. Even though the film's opening here in San Francisco tomorrow,
Right.
you know, we still kind of go, doesn't feel over to us. A year hasn't gone by since we filmed last yet.
Yeah.
So it feels, we're still processing. Everything about this film was different, and the way we feel about it here at the end is, it's kind of wonderful and unexpected.
Yeah.
Like everything about this movie.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Great. So, I noticed you brought David Blackwell back from Dazed to be a liquor store clerk again, and I wondered just about other references, if you could point out maybe one or two to your other films.
Well, it's hard to say what's a reference and what's just working with an actor again you like. There's several actors in the movie that I've worked with before in other movies.
Yeah.
I'm not always saying something too specific with that. But I guess David Blackwell, who sells liquor to an underage kid in Dazed and Confused, I thought it was kind of funny that he's still working at a liquor store.
Still doing it.
Yeah, he hasn't been fired yet. I guess it's Texas, you can get away with.
Right.
But
That is good stuff.
yeah, it's a fun little Easter egg, I guess, for people who notice. But he's just a guy I like too. He's in Bernie. He's in other movies of mine. You know. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the liquor store clerk thing was inspired, I thought. So, I was going to ask you. About I wanted to talk to you about time, just kind of in general. It's always been kind of a theme throughout your career. And
I think so.
in Slacker, there's a character who says that time doesn't exist, and I wondered if you thought if this movie was proof that time does exist, or the reverse.
Wow. I think it's proof time does exist, you know, and that characters exist, and that we all are flowing through time, and kind of at different rates, actually, if you think of the relativity of time.
Mm-hmm.
Time's very different to a 7-year-old than it is an adult. You know, if you get older, time actually does move at different rates.
Yeah.
So, it feels that way. So, in this film, I was trying to capture how we flow through life, how we pass through time. fleeting, it is. And I wanted the audience to kind of feel like, in a mere 2 hours in something, you've seen 12 years go by in a realistic kind of way.
Right.
So that's kind of how our own lives can feel. If you jump back 12 years in your own life, or my life, I can go, that kind of went fast.
Yeah.
And so it's a reminder of that. I kind of, these conscious efforts to slow time down and to just be in the present, in the moment. I think everyone's kind of searching for that, or knows that's a goal of a certain kind, but it's still kind of hard to achieve.
Yeah.
So the film's attempting to kind of live in that space, I think.
Yeah. Nostalgia has also been a big theme of movies, especially American movies, in the past few years, and just the media in general. People love to relive the past
or rewrite the past. We live in this nostalgic culture, but often for nostalgic for something that never existed. That's the best kind of nostalgia for a time when everyone was great. And, show me that time when it was that it was ever better in the past. There's certain elements that are certainly you can break down, but the general thrust of life, when I think of so many areas, is only improving.
Right. Why do you think people hang on to the past like that? Why is that?
Well, it's a lot of people who hang on to the past or project a positive light on like previous eras. They're often afraid of the future. The randomness, the unknowableness makes them really uncomfortable. So let's just assume everything now and in the future is terrible, that everything's gone down, and let's have this nostalgia for an era we never experienced ourselves.
Right.
That I'm thinking like politically and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But every era has its good and not so good, culturally, politically. But we're all here in the present. So it doesn't really matter what you think of the past. We really should all be thinking right now and into the future. You want to learn from the past, but I don't see anyone doing that.
Right.
I see it repeating the same the same stuff. Even in my not that long life, I see the same cycles coming, and I feel like no one remembers anything.
Yeah,
you can see this coming, like wars and financial crisis and banking scandals. It's like I'm on my second or third round now in my own life.
Right. Cool. So to finish up here, I wanted to ask you kind of just about other movies, specifically in Houston. Do you have favorite Houston movies that are set there?
It's a pretty small genre, I think. Houston's probably one of the larger cities that has the smallest genre of Houston movies.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I think I don't know what you'd even point to. I mean, this is definitely kind of a Houston-ish movie. A large percentage of it is in and around Houston.
Yeah.
But
well, like the Coens started there with Blood Simple.
that was Austin.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think they shot it in Austin. The Austin claims them. Rushmore, maybe, the Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Houston movies, I think, has to be Brewster McCloud, the Robert Altman film. It makes good use of the Astrodome. Brewster himself, Bud Cort, right before Harold and Maude, he lives in the Astrodome.
Yeah.
He develops wings. It's a real gem of a movie. So that's a favorite. There was a really wonderful. There was a movie called The Thief Who Came to Dinner with Ryan O'Neal.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a good Houston movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Apollo 13.
Right.
That's a Houston, anything to do with the space program, a lot of that. But I'm racking my brain here to think of terms of endearment.
Right.
Is a Houston-ish movie.
Tin Cup is in Houston, I believe.
It was it? Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
they're out there.
Yeah.
But I should look that up. I should Google that and see
Yeah.
what the. But I'm proud to join the list in my own way of Houston movies. I did I kind of grew up in the Houston area. I was in Houston. My dad lived in Houston. My mom lived in a small town north, Huntsville.
Okay.
So those are my two hometowns. If I want to think urban, Houston's my hometown. Small town, Huntsville. So I got
Gotcha.
both in my life.
Cool. Great.
So
Thank you so
anyway,
much.
yeah,
for showing
good
that.
talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.